What's up, fam?
Hi.
Hey.
Hi, friends.
Hey.
Looks like we got our
Everyone's
friends
here.
and family and everybody is showing up and coming in, and we're excited about what's about to happen for us. And just give us a second because we're still making sure everything here.
You know it has to be perfect.
Yeah, everything's got to be, of course. We can't be here and not have everything perfect.
Great. We're glad that you can join us for our first forum ever.
Yes.
But it's not our first time doing something
Hey,
like
Courtney.
this. All of our friends kind of know this is who we are, what we do. We're just putting it on film for you.
Yeah. So we got the chat here. We're going to get started, and we're going to share some things with you about, what's going on and get into the course, our free course on communication, what we want to share with the couples today. If you got any questions or comments, just leave something in the chat. And although I got glasses on, I'll try to see if I can see and speak on it.
So to get started, you know that Eric and I are into meditation.
A lot of them.
Well, most of you know. We have coined who we are. We are tranquility facilitators. So that means we bring peace. And wherever we go, we try to bring peace. And you know that we've been doing that for about 8 years in group sessions. Some of you have even joined us here in our home. But meditation, which is a large part of bringing tranquility, we've been doing that for probably 15, 16 years. And we just decided we wanted to do something for others. We decided to develop this forum, Next Level Love. And Eric is going to actually lead us so that we can all come together and then this can flow.
Absolutely. And so what I want to do first is let you know, if you see us looking down, we got our little piece of paper here. That's going to help us kind of like stay on track because we don't want the call. We have so much that we want to share. We got to make sure we stay within a certain time frame and get over everything. So every so often you may see me look down and see her look down. That's what we're looking at to make sure we stay on track so we can provide as much value to you within this time period. And so to begin, as Pam was saying, for those of you who don't know Eric and I, we've been together, Pamela and I, or Eric, interchangeable.
Yes.
We've been together about 15 years, and we actually started this whole meditation thing, like you said, 8 years ago. But it's fused into something that we've created, which is called Meditaiology, which is a fusion of meditation and psychology. And so we're now going forward with the pandemic and all the stuff that's going on. And I'm, like many people, my business is taking a hit. So it gave me a chance to be at home and to pursue our passion full speed ahead. And so we're excited about that. And so the introduction of the Meditaiology concept is just basically taking what we know about being centered and focused in meditation, and then the things that we've learned through personal self-development
as a couple.
As an individual and a couple, listening to people like Deepak Chopra, Wayne Dyer, a lot of the great Tony Robbins, and all the stuff that we've been taking in that's helped us be a better person within ourselves and as a relationship. We was like, now it's time for us to put this out and share it because this helped us a lot. One of the things that I was concerned about in the relationship, as far as relationships are concerned, is that some people are in this pandemic and they're spending more time with their spouse, and it's actually creating some stress. It's creating stress, whereas people are so used to being able to go hang with the girls or the guys that used to going golfing or
having that 8 to 10 hours at work.
Yeah, and because they're at home more, you're starting to realize that your spouse might be getting on your nerves sometimes, or you may be realizing that everything is good, but it's kind of like speeds up. This is one of the concerns people talk about, speeding up that time together where you really start to get used to having them in the house and you start to not actually communicate or be uh, as involved with one another, because now a new routine is coming into your life.
Yes.
You're no longer just about the daily routine of commuting back and forth to work and passing, hi honey, and keep going. Now you in the house or all the time. And I've heard some people say this pandemic has actually created some stress for them.
Because you're in the house, you're maybe in each other's space, It actually is one of those things that you would normally say, this is a good thing. I get to spend more time. Is it a good thing? We would like to think so. So what we want to do is help if it's not a good thing, and point out some ways for you to make those changes. You are friends. You may notice it not with yourself, but other family members. So things you'll learn today, hopefully you should be able to share them and help people you love each other more. So we want to start with the way we start everything. This meeting, whenever you come and visit, whenever I have a conversation, anything we start with what? You probably can answer this question.
Meditation.
Yes.
But what we're not going to do it, we're not going to ask you to do an actual meditation, because for a lot of people who've not done it before or don't know much about it, you do in some form a way already do it. It's some people smoke cigarettes and that's their way of relaxing, taking in deep breaths. And some people just have quiet time. Some people take long baths. But whatever way you do to center yourself to de-stress is kind of like what we're talking about in this point. So what we want to offer is a breathing technique. This is why these people that smoke weed or cigarettes always say, I feel better. They're actually taking the time to breathe. Exactly. Although it's an unhealthy inhalation, it is the breathing that makes people feel calm. So I want to show you a small technique where you don't have to focus on not being into this meditative Buddha stand or yoga stand. You don't have to do that.
Simple.
Yeah, it's simple. It was something really simple that, and it's about counting and breathing. You want to make sure that you do a 3 count when you inhale. And for some, if you want to do 4, it's okay, but you just want to be relaxed. And then you want to hold for a second. And then you want to release for a longer count than the inhalation. So example, if you're inhaling for 3 seconds, 1, 2, 3, and you hold.
For 1.
And then 1, and then you release 2, 3, 4, 5. This is what I'm going to walk you through that really quick.
About 2 or 3 times.
About 2 or 3 times, so that we can all get into a calming state, because we're going to go into some communication stuff. And what we want everybody to be is in that open, relaxed mindset. Because we're going to ask you some questions, and we want those questions to come from a slow, centered, focused point of view. So what I want you to do, first thing about breathing is you want to understand is that you want to sit comfortably in your chair or however way you're sitting.
On your sofa. Put the coffee cup down.
Yes. And you know, and don't worry about if you're doing anything right, but just make sure you're comfortable and you're breathing normal. And we're going to talk about what breathing is at a normal breath. Because when people say inhale, a lot of times people do this. And that's just totally wrong. You don't want to be relaxed. And you want, when you inhale, your stomach actually expands out. And then when you let the air out, your stomach actually contracts back towards your spine. So what we want to do is we want to breathe normal, take in the breath for 3 seconds and feel the stomach expand outward, then hold and then slowly exhale and feel the stomach start to come back in towards the spine. This is proper breathing. When you're doing it, relax your shoulders and relax your face tension, muscles, everything, and just feel yourself just sit comfortably.
Be intentional about relaxing.
Yeah. So let's do that for 3 counts.
3 times.
3 times. Inhale, 2, 3, hold, Exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, inhale. 2, 3, hold. Exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale again. 2, 3. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. So why are we asking you to do the breathing techniques and the meditation parts of it? When you start to learn and get more into meditation, which hopefully, if you're not already doing it, you will introduce and allow us or look into doing it. Meditation has served us a lot in our relationship, especially when it comes to communication. Meditation, that word, it gets thrown around a lot, and there's a lot of connotation that comes with it, but centering, focusing, having a calming practice, something, I mean, you don't have to call it meditation. You just need to be able to know that there is some techniques you can do that will bring you into a centering, calming focus.
You don't actually have to call it anything. It's a practice. And sometimes you may be doing it, not realizing it. So you've ever been in a space where you've been like, something upset you and you just had to take a breath? That's actually what you were doing. Your body sometimes tells you, if you listen, you'll know what to do to take care of yourself. It's actually a natural thing. So make that a practice that you do more often than you possibly have done before. And if you've noticed, when we first got started, then we did the breathing techniques. Did you notice how he calmed down? He did. It works. So what we want to do now is just move into it. So we've got a question for you. What is your go-to technique for communication in your relationship?
Technique. What is your go-to technique for how to effectively communicate with your spouse? So what we're going to talk about is
I'm telling him his part. It's almost like a play that we wrote.
Yeah. So what we want to talk about.
You say.
Yeah. So what we want to talk about is, what do we mean by what is your go-to technique? There's a lot of people that think that they are good at communicating, and they're not. They're not. But it's not their fault, because we live in a society where ineffective communication is the normal. It has become the normal. Thinking for someone. It's just, like, for instance, if you think you know your spouse, and you're like, well, I already know what they're going to say, so I'm going to do or say or behave a certain way.
That means you're talking for them or thinking for them. And that's not two-way. That's one way, because it was all in your head. And it's actually not fair. It's not fair. And it's not effective. So.
Yeah. Or you could be one of them people that's just, if you're a guy, a lot of times guys do this, happy wife, happy life. So, yes, dear. Sure, baby. Yes, dear. I got you. No problem. Yeah.
But do you really mean that? Or was it coming from an honest place? Sometimes that's like a dismissive thing. It's just, yes, dear, because I want to not be involved in whatever's going on, or not talk about whatever we had to talk about, or I want to move to the next thing. So the answer is yes, dear, but it really wasn't authentic. So we really want to come from a place of authenticity when we are communicating with anyone, our children, our coworkers, our spouse, especially, our significant other, may it be your spouse or just a significant other. We want to come from a place of authenticity, so it's real.
Yeah.
So you say.
I say that my wife has changed. My wife has changed, which she has.
I have?
Yeah, she has. And I think it's for a good thing. I think it's for a good thing. I had to take a little bit of a beat down because of her change. And everybody know, for those of you who know us, I'm the more vocal, outsourced one.
And I'm less vocal. And I have actually I was less vocal. And I was like that most of my life. And as you develop growing up, most people develop their ways of being, additionally communicating by what they see and what they hear. Most behaviors are just behaviors we pick up, not things that are necessarily taught to us. So I was taught to be nice. I was taught, and you probably remember this, children should be seen and not heard. Well, I think I kept that going even past being a child. So being seen and not heard is not actually effective living. That makes you a doormat. But I'm not a doormat. What I tend to do or tend to have done in past relationships and even early on in our relationship was when I was wanting to talk about something, I wanted to find the right time. Well, there is no right time. You have to deal with things as they come up. As long as someone's not having to rush out the door, you need to talk about whatever you need to talk about when you need to talk about it. So what I did was compound whatever subject I didn't want to talk about, whatever came up that I didn't want to deal with, whatever came up that was difficult and now it's not right time, or whatever I needed to talk about and I think I know what he's going to say and I don't want to hear, whatever I need to talk about and I was afraid of the reaction. And when you stack things on top of one another, guess what you get?
Yeah.
And it blew up. I blew up on him.
Can you imagine that? This angel blowing up?
Yes. And I know exactly when it was. We were in a car, and actually what I blew up about had nothing to do with what was going on. It was just at that point I had enough. But it was not enough of, like I had enough of him. It was actually enough of me stuffing. And it was time to deal with communicating better. And he helped me. He has no problem with talking about his feelings, never has. But he actually helped me to develop some of these techniques we're going to talk to you about. And our communication is better than ever. Because if you don't communicate well, communicate effectively, it's going to mess with your relationship.
Absolutely.
Romantically and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just not the right answer.
No, it's not.
So we want to talk about the darker side. How about if you don't deal with it?
So the communication part, as Pam is expressing, is so important. It's the reason why we wanted to do our first out the box to speaking to everybody about this communication, because we've heard a lot of people who know us have heard us say, and heard me say communication is more important than love.
What?
And people go, yeah,
really?
You love someone and you don't know how to communicate with that person, you could lose the person you love. Yeah. And you could still be in love, but y'all over there in different houses in different cities, and I don't know what happened, because that's how important effective communication is. And what some people's technique for communicating is to be snappy, or some people's techniques to be passive. Some people's techniques are to be aggressive. I've heard people, you know that, and they think that they love the person, but they think that's how they need to communicate. And most people don't want that in their life. They really want loving, passionate, to be understood, and to feel So let's talk about a little bit about the darker side of this whole thing. One of the things that Pam and I was really concerned about, and now that everybody's spending more time at home, we're about to, here in Atlanta, it looks like we may be on more house arrest soon. We're trying.
That's house arrest. That's one way to look at it if you dread being at home.
Yeah, and we really sincerely want to build value in couples to understand how to maximize this time and not be, the darker side of a relationship is that you're in this relationship and you're doing all these ineffective communication techniques, and for the most part, nobody's really addressing things from an authentic, pure point of view. Excuse me. And that's literally, people, you can't see it, but there's like this little tiny net that's just flying around. I'm trying not to do this. in front of the camera, but it is really like
It's testing you.
I don't know where it comes from.
You're doing great.
Yeah, so it's a test. First time out the box. I should have quarantined the flies in the house. But when you're thinking about it, the darker side is that people they're in relationships 2 years, 5 years,
15 or 20.
and then all of a sudden they break up. And
Why? What happened?
who can explain 15, 20 years together, and then you decide it's not good enough anymore? At that point, it's not about love.
No, you grew apart. And why was that? You didn't grow together because you didn't have, not necessarily like-minded thinking alike, but like-minded where you can think in the same direction, where you understand each other, where you can talk and understand what the other person is saying and how they're communicating with you, because all of that is a part of effective communication. So your mindset.
This is one of the most important parts of it. How do you approach the relationship? In your mindset, when you're talking about the mindset, let's start with what brings you or brought you to the relationship, or what is it about the person that made you decide
this is the one for me?
This woman right here.
Why did you fall in love?
Yeah, and a lot of times people say, oh, you forget that when you start noticing all the little nuances of the things that are surrounding the relationship.
The things that become problematic.
Yeah, like simple stuff, bills, toothpaste top left over, whatever it is. Families, that's not simple. Other things that come into a stressful situation at work, and you want to vent at home, and that becomes the dumping ground, and stuff like that.
So it compiles things that are not the nicest things on top of what is a loving relationship that you may have forgotten. It because you need to uncover all that stuff, maybe not bring it home, or maybe deal with it, then let it go. Those things that help you remember why you wanted to be with this person should always be the things that you remember. We want you to remember that he makes you laugh. He does the nicest things for you. She remembers things that you like. They speak each other's language, kind of like the love language. And those are one of the topics in our course. The love language is important because you heard the term men are from Mars and women are from Venus. Well, where that comes from is we communicate differently, and it's okay. We just have to know how the other person communicates so that we can answer to that, give them what they need, and you get what you need. So those kinds of things are important. If you're not dealing with them, the darker side can develop, which, like Eric says, after 15, 20 years, then you break up. Or what if you don't break up, but you've not been communicating, you've been kind of growing apart, and one of you gets ill, and you stay together, and you help them out, but you resent everything you do for them because not having to deal with the illness, it's the other stuff that you did not deal with. Within, perhaps most importantly, is the communication part. If you're not communicating, it's going to affect every part of your relationship.
Yeah, and so we thinking about this, and it's great that we want everything to be on this uppity and loving, but you have to think about. I took a course with Dean and Tony Robbins, and in this course they talked about success loop, and in the success loop, one of the things they was talking about, more important than anything, is when you're ready to go, when you go through a pain or something in your life and you're trying to come out of it, you literally have to take the moment to think about that pain and be in that moment, or imagine what's the worst case scenario. You can say, oh, I don't want to think it like that, I don't want to think like that, but you have to imagine, if I don't really commit to making sure I keep my relationship fresh, make sure that I keep the communication as it was in the very beginning. If you don't make these efforts, don't be naive that worst case won't happen to you. That's the worst thing you can do. So, because that's what we're here to do. We're here to help. If you're in a healthy, strong relationship,
Great.
wonderful.
Share what you know with others.
Yes, but don't take it for granted that something can't slip, because we're in a world, like I said, where dysfunctionality is the social norm. Even from the stuff we watch on television, we love dysfunctionality. Even the drama TVs, the way people handle each other at work. We don't communicate effectively in the workplace to the kids.
Yes, and all that's going on right now is a dysfunctional normalcy.
Mm-hmm.
Not good, but it's become normal
Mm-hmm.
because it continuously happens. And when things continue to happen, you stop noticing them as weird or bad. They become normal. That's actually not necessarily, no, that's actually not good.
Mm-hmm.
So what you have control over is your household, your relationship. That's where we want you to focus. So we want to talk about those steps that we mentioned that we got you here for. But we want to take a pause and ask you, think about what's your technique
for your communication. What is your go-to technique right now? So we're going to pause for a moment. I just want you to take a deep breath using the breath technique. Ask yourself, not your partner, ask yourself, what is my go-to technique? What have I been doing, good or bad? Just be honest with yourself. What is it that I normally do in this relationship in reference to communication?
How do I
respond? Are you the aggressive type? Are you the passive type? Are you the yes dear type? Are you just think about it for a moment. We're going to take a moment and give you a moment. I want you to got a pen and write it down. If you want to put it in the chat, you can put it in the chat. If you want to just let it resonate with your spirit, just think about it. And then second part to that I want you to think about is
it working for you?
Is it working for you? And is there some things that you can improve upon with it?
And when we come back after that moment, we will discuss all the techniques we were mentioning that we were going to bring to you as gifts. And then you can choose something better if the way you have been communicating is not working.
Okay, so take a moment. Don't look at us, because we're just going to sit here and sway in the wind. And you just go ahead and do your thing.
Like what, 30 seconds? We were standing up. What would you have to do? These are going to be the things we talk about. And then there's yours. Kind of mentioned that already. Ready? Yeah, you did. So you could just skip.
Okay.
Welcome back.
So hopefully you got a chance to really give that some thought.
Can you read the chat? Because I don't have my glasses on.
I cannot. If someone's having some problem, oh, we didn't introduce you to Rebecca. Everybody, if you hear Rebecca, she is our assistant. She's helping us with anybody having issues. I cannot see the chat because we're too far back.
But
I would have to
moving,
lean
so
in.
let's lean in and see.
So hopefully everybody, let's see. We got some people had some audio problems, and I hope you got that worked out. Leslie, you guys okay? Leslie, Cicely, are you okay with your audio now? Let's see here. And Wendy says she's passive, and it works sometimes. Rebecca says she don't know if she has. What'd you say? She definitely have an energetic type of style.
Who was that?
That's Rebecca. Yes, we do know that for sure. Anybody else? Let's see. When I communicate, um, who is this? Charlotte says that when she communicates to make a point, she stay calm, but she tend to be lengthy. Yeah, Charlotte. Really? Your husband's more passive and reactive. Okay, so that's some good stuff, people. Uh-oh. Eric says he starts out calm, but he can tend to turn up a little bit. I
Yes,
got you, Eric. That's probably me in the past. I'm gonna sit back and chill for a bit.
probably. How many of you all know the answer to that is not
Well,
probably?
yeah. Don't. I'll say calm, and then after a minute, the bear might come out.
So I remember when he said, I've changed, and yes, I have for the better. Babe, you've changed. He has. And it's for the better.
But so we're gonna get into some techniques now,
Okay.
and
Thanks for sharing.
absolutely, thanks for sharing, everybody. What we want to do now is get into some of the things that we believe that we know will help.
Affect your communication effectively.
Effectively, not just.
No, it's affect your communication effectively. You
Cool.
can use that if you want. Okay, so number one.
What's your tone of voice? We started with mindset. So when you approach the conversation about anything difficult, mindset being the very first thing, make sure that your mindset is right, that you want to speak lovingly to your spouse. And this is going to help control your tone of voice or the pitch of how you choose to address any given situation. Using the breathing techniques that we talked to you about, bring you from a calming state. It brings you into a calming state. You already know that I want to have the right mind. Think about, like we said in the beginning, what are the things about this person that you love about this person?
Yes.
This situation is only temporary.
Exactly.
That person's been that way for 20, 30, 40 years. So those are the things that you liked about them. They're not about to change. So you got to remember that they're still there. That person, when you met them
And you fell for
and
them.
you fell for them, that person is still there.
The situation is just a situation. For the longevity of it, you as a union, even if you're a new couple, whatever brought you together, it's still there. And whatever the situation, conversation is something that's temporary, that can be fixed.
Yes.
So just like Eric said with tone, you want to make sure your tone is receptive. So that technique we taught you, use it so that you can manage or change your tone.
Because your tone can be, just for clarity, some people tone can be high pitched. I told you that, all that. The other people's tones is they can be they're smart, so they be very sarcastic, and that's kind of like a response, but it comes across a certain tone. Are you the type of person that says things that are has another meaning underneath what you're saying, or those that controls the tone? People can understand that you're saying one thing but you're really meaning something else. That's not communication. So we want to know what is tone. Always manage to make sure that your tone is coming from a pure, authentic, loving point of view. If you are a type of person that's been really not used to managing your tone,
Try something different.
we should try something different. Practice makes perfect.
And actually, before all of that, just remembering what brought you together. That person is still that person. So that you want to ask yourself before you even address tone or anything, maybe before you're breathing or after you're breathing, is what is it I want? Do I want to just prove my point? Do I want to hurt my spouse? Or is it whatever the actual subject? Is it something that I want them to receive? Now, receive doesn't mean agree. Receive is just hear me. So if your goal is to be heard, so that your significant other receives what you have to say, and you're not trying to hurt, you're going to manage your tone. You're going to think about how you present what you present. That's why the breathing technique can help bring you down to where you can actually hear yourself from here.
Yes.
When we're in here, not necessarily the greatest thing, but when we're in here, that's going to make you want a resolution that is amicable, even if it's not in agreement. But when you part from the subject, the situation, the confrontation, because it could be confrontational, you are still a loving unit.
Absolutely. Which just brings us to the second part, or actually the third part, which is body language. When you are Tony Robbins, again, I love this guy. I don't know if you don't know who he is.
Check him out.
You should check him out. He talks a lot about your state, and
Yes.
and when you're trying to motivate yourself, like it's hard to be angry with a smile on your face. You just can't do it. You got, I'm so upset right now. And or you stand tall and you stick your chest out. It's hard to have low self-esteem when you're standing tall and your chest is out and you're like, I don't know if I can do this. It's hard to do it. Your body language says more than most people know. You can literally walk into a conversation and someone can see you like, you got this going on, and you haven't said anything, but you're communicating something.
Yes.
Your energy is communicating out something.
Yes.
So if you really want an effective communication, you need to change your physical body language before you actually get into the conversation. It should be something loving. It should be something caring. It's because you want a caring and loving result to come
That's it.
out of the communication.
Result. Yes. So when you are talking with someone, it's difficult to also be an aggressive person when you are making eye contact.
Yes. You know, they say that the eyes are the windows to the soul. And when my wife said about bypassing the mind, you know, inside the mind, we can get a lot of distractions. Like I said, this world is full of a lot of dysfunctionality, and that is being programmed into our minds. And sometimes you have to bypass the mind and get into the heart and the soul of the person you're with. And the window to that person's soul is through the eyes. And learning how to look at your wife in the eyes sometimes. You know, we've been trained not to look people in the eyes. So oftentimes, you know, you go to a restaurant, how many times have you looked at your waiter in the eye when you thank them for bringing out the food? Or when you're paying at a gas station or wherever, a grocery store, do you look the person in the eye? Most of the time we say hi and we look off. Now, eye contact is something we should be practicing doing more often because it connects you with the person.
Yes.
So if
personally and business wise. And actually it should be easier now because we're all wearing masks when we're out, right?
So all you got left.
So make sure you're making eye contact. It's going to connect you in a way that you may not have been able to connect before. It's a benefit.
And then the other thing you want to do is let go. You want to talk about that, babe?
Let go of the assumptions. So there are things that have happened in the past. Why are you holding on to them? They're in the past, unless you didn't deal with them. So if you didn't deal with them, deal with them. But when you deal with something, resolve it and let it go. That old stuff is baggage and it's weight and it's not serving. If it doesn't serve you, let it go. Life is precious. Our time is precious. And you might not get to repeat something because once a moment comes and goes, it's gone. Opportunity for conversation, you don't know what's going to happen when your significant other, spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, whomever that person is no longer in your space. You might not have but that moment that you last had. So let go of the assumptions. That's one thing, but also the assumptions of assuming I already know what they're going to say. I already know how they're going to act. Remember, I was avoiding conversations because I thought I knew what he was going to say. Comes to find out, a lot of times my assumptions were wrong, because really that was a rationalization. I rationalized what I thought he was going to say to lead me toward pleasure, which is not dealing with a difficult conversation. So let go of the assumptions. Don't assume you know what your spouse is going to say, and don't assume that that old stuff hasn't been resolved. Resolve it, let it go, don't bring it up. Time is precious. Don't waste it.
So now we're going to do one more quick session for you guys. We'll take a moment now. Thinking about all the things that we just discussed. You know, your mindset, your body language, eye contact. And I want you to take a moment and think about what are some of the things that we've just shared that you know you could improve upon or that you would like to improve upon.
Yes.
And let's take a moment, leave it in the chat and take a moment to write it down. And we want to give you a moment to share that with, if you want to share it, or just discuss it with your.
Yeah, or if you have a question. So any of those that we detailed for you, if they resonate with you, and if there's something you need to do, or something you want to share, or a question you may have, take a moment, put it in the chat.
All right. And we're going to give you a second to do that.
And you're going to move into that. So you just did that. So you can, very good.
So. No, it's right here. If love is overrated, let me be the one that is naive. If love is overrated, let me be the one that is deceived. Let me climb in your hands that are touching me. It's not the hand that's supposed to be. Your lips an illusion. Let me be the only food for your embrace. Let me fall upon my face. I like the strange illusion.
What are they saying?
Why is it the only thing I said? All right. We got some good stuff coming in from here.
I can't read it, so he's going to have to share.
Yeah, and I'm going to be looking into the camera looking crazy, so y'all just going to have to roll with that. Let's see, Courtney, since she tend to be very direct, and she have to remember that that style sometimes is too intense. Oh, that's very big of you, Courtney. If all my lovely, beautiful women in the world could remember that sometimes. And you say it's fine, it's helpful to remain curious. I'm curious what you mean by that, Ann. I'm curious. Remain curious.
Does that mean remain open?
Mm-hmm. Let's see.
Courtney, thanks for sharing that. And I just realized the one part that we left out is a lot of times our actions are really reactions. And if they're from an emotional point, emotion is actually not necessarily here. Emotion is here. And it's reactive. And it's sometimes based on things we saw, things we learned. And it may not be serving you. Probably wasn't serving the people that you saw demonstrated, but we picked it up anyway because we're not necessarily taught. We observe and take on what we learn.
Yes. Okay, so man, we got some good stuff here. We got Charlotte asked a very interesting question. She says that sometimes you feel if you're the only one initiating the communication at times, sometimes you feel like you don't want to be a nag, or I'm paraphrasing, but it says, oh, like you're the only one that cares about the situation. So how do you reconcile that with your partner? Now we definitely want to get into that, Charlotte. And we're getting closer to some time, but I definitely want to talk about that a little bit when we get into the Q&A sessions. But
Which could be now. You want to do it now?
yeah,
Okay, you talk about benefits.
yeah. So we can
Okay.
talk. One thing I can definitely tell you about when it comes to being the person that feels like you're always um, the one trying to communicate.
Because he's been there with me.
I know a little something about it.
So
What it takes, what really going back to what we're saying about what is it about the person that brought you into the relationship, holding on to that point of reference, that anchor is the foundation for gives you the strength, right?
yeah.
That's one of the most important things, is when you're leveling up your love in this relationship, you want to be able to have that foundation that you saw when you first met them, and that foundation sometimes get overlooked. So we've talked about it, but when you think about it, that person also has that foundation. What you have to do is, like I said, the eye contact. Hold them, touch them, grab their hands. Tell them, hey, listen, this is important. This is important to me. Can I just have a moment with you? And look them straight in their eyes. See, these are the things that will, it'll be different. It'll shake up. You're not just talking to or at a person at that point.
Oh, and I want to interject. You could swap out the phrase, we need to talk to, can I ask you something? That actually was a subservient way to do it.
And of course, she touched me when she said it.
Can I ask you something? And then there's no defensive stance that there is when you say, we need to talk. No one wants to hear we need to talk. Can I ask you something? You got a moment? This is, oh my gosh, this is not easy to say. Mm-hmm. And I need your help with something. So I've just put myself in a space of asking. And then doing so, more than not, I'll probably get a favorable answer. Sure, honey, what's wrong?
Yeah, and that is so important. Is that in understanding that everybody doesn't process information the same.
Yeah.
So where you're processing, I'm putting out a lot of effort. Sometimes, like there's been times when I was trying to tell my wife that this is important. We need to talk about it. And in her mind, it was just not a big deal. She was just like, why are you overreacting? And especially when we were having conversations about anything related to her family or something personal to her, it's or work. It's like, it is what it is. Why? But if it's resonating with you and it seems like it's not resonating with the other person as much, it's not that they don't care or that they're not as committed as you. Sometimes they're just not processing the importance of the conversation as you are. And that's when you have to start to do these extra little things that we're talking about: eye contact, touching, holding their hands, making sure that you make time and just tell them and
Yep.
That's where it starts.
Yep. And remember that it's important to you, they're important to you, not the subject, but the person is. So you want the resolution of it, you want to remain together.
Yes.
It's not right. I don't have to be right. I want to remain together.
So we're getting close here to our hour. So we want to wrap up and talk about some of the things that this communication thing is just the beginning. And of course, we're opening up a foundation. Pam and I have created a next level love course where communication is only part of what we're going to be going over in the course. And we're going to cover communication. We're going to cover your 5 love languages, understanding how each other experiences love in different ways. We'll be covering sexual versus sexuality or versus intimacy.
Just to name a few.
Yeah, and these things are we got 6 weeks that we're doing on this particular these particular different topics, and we realize that if we're taking this stuff to another level, what we want we want everybody, all our couples, to understand, and if you even single and looking to be into a relationship, these are all things that need to be honed in and care and treated as if it's the utmost of importance in your basic foundation for your relationship.
Exactly.
And so we want to share. I'm going to share my screen with you. I'm going to show you what we're offering now in the course, of course, and then we can see from here. Give me 1 second here as I get to
there you go.
the screen here. Hopefully.
Oh, below.
Boom, share, boom. When I say boom, everything works. For all of you that don't know, I have to do the boom, and then that's how you go. So here's our course that we are now doing, and it's going to be starting next week, Monday, and it's called Next Level Up. We're excited about it, and what we're going to be offering is 6 weeks of deep connection training for anybody who's interested in
leveling up their love
to the next degree. In this 6 weeks, we're going to also be doing like the breathing techniques. We're going to get into certain meditations. We're going to do some communication and intimacy that you can see. Normally, you know, just for that course alone, we would charge $597, but we're going to do an incredible deal for you guys if you decide to get on board today with us. All right, you're going to also have live training that we're offering for the couples from us, me and Pam,
on a weekly basis.
Where we get to go into every Saturday. We're going to have group calls, and we're going to have VIP master calls where the couples can interact with each other, and we can feed off each other. You get to also join into a bonus. You're going to get to join into the Facebook. Where you'll have the group, and everybody will be able to see the value
and share
their experiences. We're going to also offer audio so that you can download some of the meditations where I'll be doing some guided meditations. That's right, yours truly. Going to be doing some guided meditations.
And those are phenomenal. If you have ever sat in with us on a meditation, you know it takes you to another place. And the practice of meditation is one that can be transformative. And it's supposed to be transformative.
And if you don't know about
this course is going to be transformative.
And if you don't know about the value of self-love, there's a meditation we do on self-love in the course that a lot of folks are unable to communicate effectively because they don't really understand where that self-love, that self-esteem has been hurt or damaged somewhere during their childhood. And we get into some meditation to help you bring up and level up your self-love, and that really helps you to communicate a lot better.
And the last bonus was the private one-on-one. So there's the group in the 6-week course, the premium program, but also the private one-on-one.
So all of this today, if you join with us today, you get all of that valued at $2,294. You get it for $997. Now, if you are one of the people who don't have time for the one-on-one sessions on Saturdays that we're going to do, or you rather just kind of work on your own pace with the course, we have a standard. This is the premium version. We have a standard version right here where you can get on board and
do it at your own pace.
Do it at your own pace for $597.
But it is a 6-week course.
It's a 6-week course. You won't have the one-on-one with us, but you still have all the bonuses that come with the premium version, like the Facebook group and the 1 week. You get 1 week of training with us. So this is something that we're looking forward to and we're happy about. We really want you to come on board with us and help level up the relationship to the next level.
Yes. And if your communication is just totally great, then you have all those other parts that need a little bit of something. There's a lot more to it than just communication, but that is the foundation. If you have friends and family that you think could benefit as well, please introduce them to Next Level Love.
Absolutely, and we're committed to being there for everybody moving forward. The course is already complete. We're excited about it. It's going to be a drip course where we're going to be working with you one-on-one, and we're going to be dripping more information as we build the course out. And Pam and I, this
We're
is like
excited.
some next level stuff for us.
Excited.
And we're gonna be expanding. I see that there's a lot of questions and stuff coming in, so I want to address some of the questions.
Yes.
Rebecca is on board right now. If anybody feel like this is something you're interested in, you can get let us know in the chat, and Rebecca will send you a link to where you can
move to the next level.
Move to the next level. We're right at 11 o'clock. So we actually did really good getting a lot of stuff in this 1 hour. I'm very excited about not just the people that joined us today, and I hope we provided value with what we shared. I hope that you come on board with us in the course so we can see you and show more value than this. Like I said, the communication is just only one part of 6 weeks of subjects that we're going to cover in depth and really help you with that relationship to make sure you take it to the next level.
Do you want to take one more question?
I'm going to go into this chat and I'm going to lean in and get close with you. This is social distancing, camera style. Let's see. Courtney says, let me see. Who be more mindful? Boom, boom. It's time to see Charlotte.
Anything else?
I'm trying to, y'all, I'm sorry, but I am. Sometimes glasses just
don't help.
They just don't work. I'm thinking about the LASIK surgery.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here.
Anything?
I said I'm sort of triggered, but I get it.
Nothing? Okay.
Awesome. Okay, so there's also, for everybody that joined today, check your email because we actually created an ebook on the meditation. So we're going to be sending that to you as a free gift for helping us. It's going to give you meditation basics, so some how to get into this whole centering and focusing for yourself and for your relationship without having to be some guru or go through all of the
it's from the mind and from the words of he wrote it.
Yes, it's all, well, actually she played some part into it because she don't give herself a lot of credit oftentimes, but she had a lot of inspiration into it, so we're excited about that. So keep coming, check your emails
after the forum is over.
Yes, because we're going to be sending that over to you. And if there's anybody has any questions or want to expound more, we're going to hang out for maybe about 10-15 more minutes and take some questions, and that's it. Yes. So thank you guys and ladies for joining us on
friends and family. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you.
Yes, and we love you all.
We hope you got at least one, but maybe more. Something that you can use, something that you can share. Let us know.
Awesome.